It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
This is Car Con Carne, recording from inside the Road to Rock Radio studio, inside the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66. Those are a lot of words.
It's a big business card.
It is a big business card. Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66. I'm James Van Alstyne. Car Con Carne is brought to us by Exploding House Printing, who are here for all of your screen printing, embroidery, and other merchandising needs. They're local, and they focus on small businesses, bands, brands, and everything in between. Jonathan is the guy behind Exploding House, and he has you covered. I mean, besides his technical expertise, he delivers production efficiency and cost awareness to offer boutique print shop quality at much lower large print shop prices. Check them out on Instagram at Exploding House, or check out their site at explodinghouseprinting.com for a quote or to see a list of some of their other clients. I should mention before we launch into Car Con Carne, this is an appropriate thing to bring up. I'll be spinning nothing but local music at Gallery Cabaret on Wednesday, April 22nd. I'll be there for a few hours. Every song you hear will have been minted in Illinois. It's going to be a lot of fun. Gallery Cabaret over in the Logan Square / Bucktown. I think it's more Bucktown than Logan. The point is, I'll be there on Wednesday, April 22nd. So, inside the Road to Rock Radio room, inside the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66, 9 West Cass Street, Joliet, Illinois, a lovely, huge, expansive 3-story building in downtown Joliet. To my right is Ron Romero of the museum.
Hello.
Tell us your role. What does it say on that big business card of yours?
I am the CEO and founder of the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum.
Also,
that's
big
the
title.
Shortest part of the whole title, right there.
Hey, let's start there. Let's start with the beginning. You founded this place. How long ago did you have this germ of an idea?
2012 is the earliest that I could see in our history. 2013, we started putting a few things together. By 2016, we had our first committee together. By 2017, we actually called it a board of directors and became a nonprofit.
And you had a business plan at that point?
Business plan was done in late 2015 and into 2016 is when the business plan came together, and kind of pulled that all together. And by 2019, only 2 years later, we bought the building. And we closed at the very tail end of 2019 and woke up 3 months later in March of 2020 to COVID and sat dormant, not completely. We had a few people that would come in one at a time and do work there. But it was a little slow the first year.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and we're sitting in what was a shell of a building. There was nothing here, which, when you walk through, you'll see carpeting and electric and walls. None of that existed when we bought this building. It was vacant for quite a while.
Walking into the space, I can scarcely believe this exists. I mean, the building outside, Cass in general is unassuming.
Yeah.
When you roll up the road, you walk in and it really is, hey, this is a legit museum.
I like hearing that. Thank you.
Thinking about that business plan 11 years ago or whatever it was, does what I'm looking at today match the business plan, or did you have to pivot, change?
It matches very close to what I had envisioned for this, and then kind of extended beyond that. It superseded what I thought. And I'll tell you, the secret to that is surrounding myself with people that knew what the heck they were doing. So,
that's the secret to CEO-ship
right
there.
There, yeah. So, we have very good graphic artists. We have people that are in business. We have people that are attorneys. We have people that all on our board of directors that help to drive this forward. As I like to say, they're rowing the boat in the same direction. And that's kind of where we started with that. It's taken a long time to get here. But the exciting part to this is that I envision a story that I wanted to tell here, and it's flowing in that direction. And then to hand it off to our graphic artists and our media people, and them taking out of what's in my head and making it something tangible, something you could see or touch or read or listen to, is very surreal.
And there is, when you walk in the door, we're on the first floor, you walk in the door and there is that narrative. I mean, you start with the roots of everything. There's Muddy mentioned, and the gospel side of things, and there's Buddy Guy's performance outfit, which is really cool to see. I mean, I like that you're kind of walked through almost an evolution.
That's exactly. I'm glad you noticed that. When we put this together, I wanted to tell a story. So when you first walk in, you can stand on one spot and see what I call. It's where we started the story of music from Illinois, which is in blues, is where we decided to start it. And you can stand in one spot and kind of sweep the floor and see all the different items and how things grew.
Yeah.
Simply from the great migration of African Americans coming from the South looking for better opportunities and fleeing horrible times of Jim Crow laws but bringing with them this gift of music that was blues. And of course, when I got here, it was acoustic blues. That's where it started. And then you take it to something like Maxwell Street, where they have a built-in audience, but you can't hear acoustic blues. So they add bass and drums and guitar and a singer, and it becomes Chicago blues.
And Maxwell Street gets a mention right here on the museum floor.
Absolutely. And then it kind of evolves into what we know as Illinois blues or Chicago blues, which is a little nittier, a little more punch to it than the acoustic blues.
A little more bite.
Yeah. And then, of course, from there, you take it into the record companies, the recording and the record companies and the radio stations and how it grew from there.
I mean, we're both of an advanced age. I mean, we grew up in really some of radio's most heyday moments. I mean, it's not lost to me. One of the first things I saw walking in here was an old radio studio replica. And the first thing I did was go for the door. I'm like, damn it, it's locked. I can't go in.
Yeah. So that's actually AJP. The story behind that is AJP was here in Joliet, and it was owned by Al and Mary Jane Pohlers, AJP. And Al was Polish, had a very thick Polish accent, and had a show called the Polka Hour on it. So as you walk in, there's a QR code that you can swipe with your phone, and you'll get a little more narrative there, and then you can press the play button and listen to him from 1969, telling everybody, welcome to our show at 5 seconds past 5. You'll notice the clock is set for 5 seconds past 5 in the studio. And then talk about Polka Hour, brought to you by Marishka's, which was a local,
that's amazing,
right?
That's amazing.
Local restaurant that's been here forever. But that was, when you look in there, majority of what you see in there is from WAJP, but you'll also see kind of a tip of the hat to other different radio stations in there.
Yeah, too. WCFL gear on the floor.
Yeah. There's a few things in there, but the idea behind that story was to show you what the old equipment used to look like, and to tell you how the music that became Chicago blues actually got out to people. The importance of radio stations and, of course, radio personality and DJs.
We're here. I mean, the Route 66 connection is an obvious one for something like this, but it also seems deliberate to not have this in Chicago. If you're going to do the music of Illinois, Chicago seems almost insulting to the rest of the state.
Well, Chicago is a hotbed for music, and we know that. But we also know that we can get a lot of travelers on Route 66. Actually, beyond that, we're sitting on what they call the crossroads of Mid-America. In front of us right now is US 30, which is Lincoln Highway, which goes east to west. And then you also have Route 66. Route 66 is on either corner where we're at right now. So we're on the crossroads of Mid-America. I chose this spot for a few reasons. One, all the highways that are here, Route 66, Route 30, 55, 80, 355 is not that far away. We have an airport here. And not that I don't like Chicago. I love Chicago very much. But a lot of the travelers tend to bypass that when they're doing Route 66.
Yeah.
So we decided to put this here. And the third part of that is that it's also part of an economic plan.
I was going to ask about Joliet, like being intentional with Joliet. I feel like Joliet probably needs something like this.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I did it. So I recognized back when I was thinking about this in 2012 that Joliet was fighting for a comeback.
Yeah.
And I always root for the underdog.
Yeah.
So in this case, recently the city's paid $20 million to renovate the downtown. They put in a brand new city square park that looks beautiful.
Agreed.
It has a stage. There's all sorts of great businesses, new restaurants. You can get Greek food. You can get Korean barbecue here. There's a great steak place here now. So it's up and coming, and I wanted to be a part of that. Part of that is we grow with the city.
Yeah.
So we buy the building at a pretty good price, and value continues to grow, which it has, of course, since we've done this. But besides that, the property values around here are genuinely going up and improving. So by design.
It's the cliche or metaphor, rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, I love that metaphor. Yeah, I use that quite often.
So since this sprung or spring, whatever the past tense of spring is, from your head, what's your connection to music?
Well, my whole family is musicians. I've played music for all my life. I was that kid in school that carried the trombone case with a bass case and a guitar case and played drums in the jazz band and sang in a choir and played in the marching band and just loved music. And that's kind of where that starts, I suppose. But then, as I grew up, I got into rock bands and have been playing for years, all sorts of music. But a genuine love of music. And this is I call this as my crossroads of history, music, and economic development. The three things that I really love, and I couldn't have asked for it. As we mentioned a couple times before, as we get a little older, our friends are retiring. I decided to start a new career. So
I love that. Yeah, I don't understand retirement. Like I'm just going to.
Yeah, likewise.
I like having purpose, and whether it's pivoting, doing something brand new. I like that kind of fulfillment.
Yeah, and this is really, sometimes I'll tell the story of, as I'm speaking to people, as I'll talk about Colonel Sanders. Kentucky Fried Chicken. He didn't start that till he was well into his 60s,
right.
I believe. And he did very well with it. But this is, I'm a little late to the game here, but this is my calling. This is what I love doing.
Tangential topic. I road tripped with my son when he was maybe 10 years old to Louisville. Just to, went to the Louisville Slugger factory and
Sure.
A lot of cool restaurants. On our way out of town, I insisted we find Colonel Sanders' bust in the cemetery.
Yeah.
He hated it. He went kicking and screaming, and it's really hard to find any plot in a cemetery. Like it's not like regular cross streets.
Right.
So we saw it, took a selfie in front of the Colonel. He was so mad about it. Fast forward to the present day. He's grateful that he got to hang out at the Colonel's grave.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. I like it.
Again, slight tangent there. Looking at the 2026 Hall of Fame, the nominees across all the categories, I was nominated, bless you, in the museum for the nomination. That was a ridiculous surprise, sharing rarefied air with Lynn Bramer, Terry Hemmert, and Herb Kent, OMG. But a lot of diverse names across the performers. I've got to think, and looking at that other big Hall of Fame, it's hard to define what rock is.
Yeah.
What artists qualify. Like Mavis Staples, hell yeah, of course she belongs. Is she rock and roll? I don't know. Like, is this a debate you have internally?
No. I actually have it cleared in my head, but other people have problems with that. And here's what I'll say. History of rock and roll. History of music. Rock and roll existed maybe 1954 to 1963. That was true blue rock and roll. There's a lot of offshoots from that.
Yeah.
Right? So then there's rock and there's hard rock and there's heavy metal and there's, you can go on and on. But music, two things. I chose rock and roll because it had a little more pizzazz than music.
Yeah, for sure.
Rock and roll is people even say, come on, let's get up and rock and roll. Let's do, so that's kind of one of the reasons.
That's a dad thing. Come on, kids, let's rock and roll. Time to go.
Yeah. I suppose young kids wouldn't use that anymore, but that's true. So that's one thing. The other thing is, in my opinion, all music is connected. And I'll give you an example. If you were to go to Germany and listen to a polka band, you would hear the 1-5 oompa, oompa, oompa. You go to Mexico, you hear oompa, oompa, right? You go to country music here in the United States, you hear that same thing. So my theory is that all music is connected. There's 12 notes in a scale that we use, and there's a lot of connections. So rock and roll is a fun name for us to use. We tell the story of where rock and roll evolved from blues and country had a baby. They called it rock and roll. Somewhere in between was R&B and other things. And then once we get beyond that, then we talk beyond rock and roll, all the other things. We have industrial metal here. We have 60s and 70s music, pop rock, power pop, everything. The other thing,
and of course, as you're saying that, like all the representative bands. I'm like, oh, okay, Ministry,
Yep.
Cheap Trick, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They just fit. So, and I don't think it was poor marketing on Cleveland's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'll tell you why, because it's still a subject.
Yeah.
People still say, why did Dolly Parton get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? You know how much press that generated?
Oh, my Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of feel that that's part of it. That's not really a big thing for us, but I know that's kind of a byproduct of what calling it the Rock and Roll would be. But that's just my opinion on rock and roll.
See, rock and roll to me, and I agree 100% with everything you just said. Rock and roll to me it's an attitude. It's a swagger. When people say, well, how is NWA in the Cleveland Hall of Fame? They've got the swagger. They've got rock and roll, the rebellious, like that kind of energy going. And that's
I
an
agree.
important part of it.
I agree with that 100%. But, when you walk in, we have a statement wall with a little video playing there of different things. And on the wall, you see the words rock and roll at the very top. Underneath it, you see folk, country, R&B, gospel. Like all that is on the wall. And to me, it's just music is at one spot in our lives that with everything that's going on right now,
What's going on?
We're so divided. What's going on? People can be divided by a million things, but music seems to bring us together, I think.
Yeah.
That's just my thought. So that's kind of where I feel about that.
How do you balance the legendary stadium names? Looking at the exhibit, I see Styx, I see REO. How do you balance that with, again, going back to this year's nominee class, artists like Local H and Naked Raygun? Like, it seems like a balance between the no-brainers and the gotta-have credible artists.
Yeah. So you said when we sat down, it's a really big building, and it is. The truth be told is we have more music in Illinois than this building will hold.
Yeah.
So I tried to do a few things. One is the Rock and Roll, or the Hall of Fame for us has certain criteria. As a few examples, you have to be in business for 20 years or more.
Yeah.
You have to have significant sales and records, do national tours, international tours, things like that. And that's what ends up in the Hall of Fame. But there's a lot of notable musicians. So I did two things. One is that we created a Wiki site on our page where everybody gets to put their name on and be included. I want every mom and pop band or Uncle Bob's band that plays like the local VFW to be able to put their information and keep their history. Put pictures, put links to videos.
I didn't realize that.
kind of stuff.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, and then aside from that, we're actually this year going to announce that we're doing something similar to the Hall of Fame, but for bands that don't qualify for the Hall of Fame, that are from Illinois.
So bands that chronologically haven't hit that mark yet, or
Not necessarily chronologically, but people who haven't been on a national tour.
okay,
But they've created a great album, or they've been around for a long time. We want to recognize the artists in Illinois. I think a couple things. One, that shows our history of music here. Two, I think on the flip side of that, I'm hoping that gives some kind of a boost to the musicians.
yeah,
To be able to say in your resume, when you're trying to get a gig somewhere, hey, we opened up for Aerosmith, big time. That gives you some credibility. If there's something that says, hey, we're also recognized by the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum for doing this or that, then I hope that brings local bands that don't necessarily qualify for the Hall of Fame. I hope that brings them some notoriety as well.
I think that's really
helps boost
important.
them.
That is really important. And having done local music shows on Chicago radio for many years, one of the, I don't know if it was a stigma but perceptions I got from doing those local music seemed like poisonous. Like, there's not going to be anything good there.
Yeah.
Like, I know the Smashing Pumpkins, I know Wilco, whatever, but people had a hard time embracing stuff just from a local or regionalized level. People listening to mainstream radio stations. I think things like this are really important.
Well, it's important to know because there is a family line of history. You mentioned the Smashing Pumpkins. Everybody knows who they are. They've toured the world. They're a big band. They've got lots of great albums out, fantastic bands. But I remember seeing Jimmy Chamberlain when he was in the local band. Even the Beatles started out playing local clubs at some point, right?
Exactly right.
So I think maybe if we capture that now, we recognize the bands that are due the recognition. I hope that we help the bands to get more recognition. And maybe somewhere in the future we go, remember when they got into this part, but now they're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
They made it. So
Tell me about your relationship or the museum's relationship with younger generations, Gen Z. I feel like, and maybe this is just wishful thinking, I feel like that generation is coming back around to music minted before 2000. I don't know if it was true with millennials as much, but I feel like Gen Z is starting to connect the dots.
I hope so. I truly do. There's always influences throughout history of music. When the Beatles played on Sullivan, everybody ran out and got a guitar.
Yeah.
And I think similarly, and I don't know if anybody else recognizes this like I do, but the band Train came out with Hey Soul Sister. All of a sudden, Guitar Center was selling ukuleles again. You know, somebody got into it again. So I think there's influences like that. And it's funny because there are a lot of young musicians that go to different schools to learn music, rock music. And they're playing old stuff. They're playing Guns N' Roses from 1980, or they're playing Led Zeppelin from 1960-something. So I'm hoping that does happen too, or catches on. I'd like to see more young kids learn instruments and play instruments.
For sure. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about curation, acquisition, getting things to display at the museum. Is that just a 24/7 quest?
Yeah, the short answer
Treasure
is
hunt?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, business plan looks easy on paper, but there's a lot of things that we had to do. And we get them from all over. Sometimes the bands have things that they'll offer us. And we accept things in three different fashions. One is, here's a gift to the museum. We want you to have this. It becomes our property. The other one is on loan. I'm going to loan this to you for 2 years, and then we'll take it back after that. The other thing is what's called indefinite loan, where we'll bring something in, and they'll say, I might come back for this in 2 years, but if something, God forbid, happens to me, then you're the custodial parent of that piece of gear, whatever it is. So we do get that. Now, where do we get that? Sometimes from the artists, a lot of times from super fans.
Yeah, I believe that.
I'm surprised that artists are like, oh, that guitar, I sold that a long time ago. It's no big deal to them. But to all the rest of us, that's history. So some bands do save things. I won't say that they don't, but there are the people that think more of that history and they save it. And, the REO, not REO, is Cheap Trick and Styx exhibits. One came from somebody in Ohio and one came from somebody in New Jersey. And I asked them both, are you from Illinois? They're like, no, we're just big fans. And both of those two particular instances, their houses were set up like museums. Like, they were incredible with the stuff that they have. And we still didn't, we took a portion of what they have.
Yeah.
They still have more. We got some great gear here, though.
Do you have any grails that you're still chasing? Like,
always.
Artist-specific, item-specific?
I think that'll never end. I can't say anything in particular right now because we do have more that we have some things in storage here. We have some things that are waiting for a phone call. We're ready. The cabinets are ready to install. But there's, we just got a nice collection of stuff from Smashing Pumpkins with more stuff coming. Some of the big things like REO, Cheap Trick, and Styx, we've got some cool stuff. I'll tell you this, a quick story was my wife and I had been sitting on the couch at home watching TV, and I got a FaceTime call from Bruce Hall from REO Speedwagon, not expecting it. And he said, hey, Ron, just want to let you know we got a couple things we're going to send to you. And about a week later, we received his bass guitar. We received a Hammond organ from Neil and Leslie organ speaker and some other stuff from them. And it was just incredible. The coincidence was he was there in their warehouse, and he had his phone, and he turned, and he said, this is my wife. I want to introduce you to Kimmy. And I said, oh, Kimmy, nice to meet you. And I turned my phone, and I said, this is my wife, Patty. Just so happened my wife was wearing an REO Speedwagon shirt.
Stop it.
I kid you not. So she didn't even realize it. Kimmy said to my wife, I love your shirt. And we both had to look.
Oh, my God. The bottom floor is for education, community programs. Tell me what goes on there, because I think that's an important part of any museum, any not-for-profit. What are you doing there?
So the lower level is it's a recording studio. It's a performance venue. We have lesson rooms down there. We are starting to not only teach instruments, the guitars, the bass, the drums, all that good stuff, but sound engineering, lighting engineering, copyright, trademark, intellectual properties, things like artist management, things that, and the way I frame it with the schools or whoever I'm talking to, simply just said, not everybody's going to be the rock star, but it is a pretty cool environment to be around.
Yeah.
So if you're not the rock star, you could be the guy that's writing the songs or
Right.
running the sound or something like that. So this is an opportunity for students to come in here and get their hands on that or learn something from a professional that's been in the field for a long time, and then take it to one of the colleges here in town that does teach music education like that. So I sit on the board at Joliet Junior College for their music program, and they help the students get educated in music and then try to place them into the workforce. So this is a place for them to get their feet wet before they go to school.
I'm sure you thought this back in 2012 or whatever it was, but how did no one have this idea any sooner?
I think about that all the time.
I mean,
I'm almost mad about it, to be honest with you. I'm happy and I'm mad. I think all this great music, and nobody's done this before.
yeah,
It's like it's a shame. But at the same time, you go through different stages. The first stage was, we're doing this. Okay, we're just going to do it. And then it's been hitting me more like, we're actually making history here. And I'm so proud of our team that works here and that our volunteers and everybody, that everybody's working together to make this happen. We did this. This is a grassroots organization. I'm not a wealthy man. I am not a developer, but everybody put their heart and back into this, and it's happening.
I love that. And as we're here, I mean, there's work being done
Yes.
in this building. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything inappropriate. Second floor was closed off today when I came in because what are you doing up there?
Oh, I can't tell you.
Seriously?
No, I'll take you up there.
Okay.
No, I definitely want to take you up there. I could tell you, let me back up. One of the, and forgive me if I'm moving forward here, but one of the influences to want to do this was Rick Nielsen's exhibit. That was his Rick's Picks exhibit in Rockford. The day I went there, there happened to be a group of people that had flown into O'Hare from Japan and took a bus to Rockford. They stayed there, and their purpose for their trip halfway around the world was to see Rick Nielsen's Rick's Picks. And I thought to myself, I'm a huge Cheap Trick fan, but we've got a lot of other bands. What if we put this all together?
Yeah.
And, kind of go from there. And that's what we did, is we kind of built on that. So that's kind of where I was going, just that that was the influence to do that. So that influence, that influence, going to his place and seeing all those cabinets filled with stuff. We bought the cabinets. We own the cabinets. They're upstairs. They're pretty cool. I'll show you when we go up there. You'll see.
So I'm a member.
Excuse me.
My membership card means I can just walk in whenever I want and
Yeah.
act like I own
Except
the
for
place.
when we're closed. But
Except for when you're closed, yeah.
Yes. No, you can come in anytime. There's great perks. Again, economic development. We want people to come to Joliet and hang out. Go to dinner here. Go to, we give you discounts when you're a member. You can, if you're local, there's an eyeglass place. You can get glasses. We want to help the local community, and we want for our charter members to have perks with that.
Yeah.
The fee right now, it's going to be going up, but it's pretty nominal fee right now to be a member.
I think I paid $35.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's an annual $35 at this point, $350 a lifetime right now, which is, both of those numbers are going to go up soon. We call our members now charter members because they're the ones that help to get us up, and they're the first members. But you also have access to 1,800 other museums through our membership.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in North America. So if you can
I did not know that.
Canada, Mexico, and United States, 1,800 museums. You flash your Illinois rock and roll card, and you can get into those museums too.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. All right, so I've got to ask, what's the status of the Hall of Fame stuff? Like, when do we find out, and when's the ceremony?
Good question. So it's going to be announced this week.
As we're recording this.
It'll be let out the second week of April. We're behind the times because let me tell you how this goes. It's like herding cats because to put the show together, we have to see who's not on tour, who's available. You have a lot of arms and legs that we have to coordinate to make this happen. So I think we got all the answers that we needed, and the voting has been done for some time. It's just the logistics part of this before we make the announcement. And the announcement it's just on the fence, ready to fall to the other side to make the announcement.
So that means I have to crank this episode out to line up.
Yeah, hurry.
To get it out before the announcement.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Pressure's on
it's
me
coming
now.
soon. It's coming soon, yeah.
I love what you're doing here, Ron. This is such a cool space. And like
Thank
I
you.
said, you walk in the front door of Cass, you're like, oh, this met my expectation of what a museum should be. It leapt over my expectation of what a rock and roll museum could be.
Thank you. My biggest fear is that because we only have the second floor and we've been open for a while and we're in progress, my fear is always somebody will come in and say, it was okay. But overwhelmingly, we've gotten pretty good. We've received a lot of good response, a lot of good reviews. And I'm excited because if people are okay with what we're doing now, they're going to be really excited.
As you grow. Yeah. And I mean, it's hard to be in a bad mood. Like people from Illinois, people from Chicago especially, notorious homers, like we love to celebrate ourselves.
Yeah.
So already when someone's walking in, they're in the tank. Like these are my people. I'm here to celebrate my people. I'm all in on this. Yeah.
Actually, referring back to the business plan, I think it's in the first few paragraphs. I write that we have our differences, but music brings us together, even if we don't agree on the same type of music. Music is good. Leave your troubles at the doorstep. Come on through the door. And I want people to walk around and go, wow, that's that guitar that was played on that album on live on stage, and walk out with it. Wow, I got to see that feeling. And that's kind of what we're doing here. And I know this is a work that's a work in progress, and it's going to remain a work in progress.
Absolutely.
I'm sure in perpetuity, it's going to continue till forever. We've got a lot of things to do, and as things change and new bands come out, we're going to add and subtract and move and do things. So I'm hoping that charter members, alike visitors, will come back often and see the things that are being done.
I love it. Well, thank you for your hospitality. We're here after hours, so I appreciate that you're here after the public's been spirited away. So keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and coming down here, and very thankful that you are now a member as well too. So welcome to the Cool Kids Club.
Oh, it's a pleasure being here. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.